Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 164. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Jay?
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry.
So what'd you get down doing this week? Did you do anything fun?
I was down in North Wildwood, and that's pretty much about it. I went down and visited a buddy, beached it up, ran a little bit, discovered I need to get a cyst removed from my head, so...
Fun?
Scheduled that in a few weeks, I know. Hopefully non-cancerous.
I hope it turns out to be your vestigial twin. I hope they cut it open, and there's like a bundle of teeth and hair in there, and it turns out that you were
just hoping it's not like a random weird bald spot.
It explains why you're so big, because you fucking ate your twin in your mother's womb.
I know. I'm just like nonchalantly growing horns.
I did very much the same thing. I sat around, did nothing on Saturday, watched a whole bunch of TV. Sunday went to the beach, and then came to work. And currently at work, we're getting audited right now, so it's super fun. So me and Jay realized that like we're doing a lot of talking about us and stuff up front. It's like 10 minutes of us talking about us and stuff. And for some people, they're enjoying that. Like but that's mostly friends and family and stuff like that. Some other people
We're not
are they want us to get into the movies and stuff. So what I decided to do is we're going to do like a little brief catch up with each other, like up front.
We'll mix it up. Yeah.
But really, we gotten away from doing news because news was so big about a month ago and a couple weeks ago that like it was a little daunting to do news. Like we tried to fit some of it in with like the Comic-Con stuff that we did, but there were a few news stories this week that we want to talk about. So let's get into a little bit of news. All right, Jay, first bit of news that I have is it turns out that Thor, Love and Thunder, has a proposed villain. Some rumors are abound that the villain will be Gore, the God Butcher. So this is pretty much an alien force that is a serial killer of gods, which very, very strange and dark type of villain.
Very.
For that movie that I was describing a couple weeks ago, when I was like, this fun romantic comedy with Thor and Jane Foster, and she has the powers and he doesn't, and then they're gonna fight, Buffalo Bill of the Thor world. I could just picture Gar the God Butcher tucking it between his legs and just going, "Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me hard." Hilarious. So look up pictures of him. He's quite a scary guy. He's got like no nose, and he's got like these pointed shark teeth. He looks like Voldemort. Like that's essentially what it comes down to. He's Voldemort, but he kills gods. So I'm not that familiar with the character, so it seems scary, I guess.
Yeah.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what news do you got?
I'm loving this, actually. This is really exciting for me because I love the idea and the premise of this movie, and it didn't work for me, but financially it was a big hit. So we have our sequel for Venom coming out, and we have a new director. We're getting rid of Ruben Fleischer, who fucked up another movie, and
is going on to fuck up Zombieland 2. If you listen to
I kind of like the trailer, but
my trailer part for that, I think that movie's going to be a flop. But
so Andy Serkis, he has signed on for the sequel, and I'm really excited for this because he has a very great work ethic about him. He's behind the scenes guy. He's done a lot of the motion capture technology, acting with the Planet of the Apes trilogy.
He's the king of mocap. He's been doing it since he was
Lord of the Rings
since
movies.
He was Gollum.
Yes,
yeah. So he's the king of mocap, and now
the Mowgli movie they did unfortunately kind of
sucked. It sucked.
Flew under the radar, let's just say.
Because a better movie came out, so no one gave a flying fuck about watching.
Yes. So they buried it.
His
essentially,
CGI
yeah,
fest.
Hollywood buried it. And,
it's
I'm really excited for this. I really am.
It makes sense to have a character like Venom who can be done in mocap and stuff, to have the king of mocap do the directing and stuff like that. I'm just not sure if he has the directing chops to take such a big comic book movie to the screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if
he has a dark sensibility about him.
But even if the technicality is all there, you still need someone to bring that story to light. And what has Andy Serkis directed prior to this?
And it could have a lot to do with the script. I don't know. But also, Tom Hardy said that one of his favorite stuff in the movie, like 40 minutes of it, was already cut in the movie. Like, this movie was hacked up. Like, they shot a lot of footage in this movie and they scaled it down and cut it all up into some kind of weird little movie that didn't work for me and didn't work for you either, but it worked for the majority of audiences because it made a load of cash.
It was a shit movie, but I had a ton of fun with it.
I saw the potential.
I don't see many more differences between Venom and what we watched this week with Hobbs and Shaw. I
understand.
I don't see a whole lot of difference there.
I hear you.
I feel like they tried to go a little deeper with the story, but with all of the jokes that they did in Venom 2, like it's like they tried to. It's like they made this very dark story, and then in the 11th hour, they're like, let's add in some of that Marvel flair. Let's add in some of that punchy dialogue. Let's add in some comedy. Let's have him jump into a tank and bite into a raw lobster. Wouldn't that be hilarious? And they're like, yeah, sure. I felt I felt like it was like filming that movie, like doing all the reshoots, must have been like Jackass filming with Johnny Knoxville, where it's like Johnny Knoxville's all about, let's just get footage. Let's just get footage. Let's just do stupid shit and get footage, and then we'll edit it all together. Like, all the Jackass movies have hours of cut stuff, and I feel like that's what they did for Venom, where they're like, let's just film a bunch of shit and throw it in there. And I'm not sure, I'm really not sure what Andy Serkis is going to bring to the table other than improving the visual aspects of the movie. Really making
and I
that
think,
stuff
but I also do think that behind the scenes, I think he's going to bring a lot more. I really do. For like, as far as like the production,
right? Because he's got such a pedigree, Jay. He ushered Mowgli to Netflix, so he's done such a great job so far.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more.
That's different. He's got nothing to do with the white collar guys. All right, I'm talking about the blue collar guys.
Look, the fact is, like, Mowgli got buried because it wasn't strong enough to stand toe to toe with the Jungle Book, and
it's hard to do. I haven't seen it, so I have nothing to say about it. But
it's not good enough to be on your screen. And now, this is better than having Ruben Fleischer come back, for sure. 100%. Right. 10 times better than having Ruben Fleischer come back. But I'm just saying,
I'm intrigued by this.
I'm intrigued,
this idea.
But
I really am.
It's an unproven quantity, and who knows how it's going to turn.
I have one other one that's a little bit more Hollywood business news. So Disney just announced that for $12.99, you can actually do a streaming bundle. So you're going to have the new Disney Plus along with Hulu, which is apparently going to be getting a little bit more revamped up.
And all the college sports you can watch with ESPN.
I think it's a pretty good deal.
Right, but that's what you're going to wind up getting, because ESPN doesn't have all the NFL games that you have to have the NFL package for that. So, you have to buy that through the NFL network. So you're just going to wind up getting a bunch of like subpar sports.
Live from Las Vegas, it's the Las Vegas International Dodgeball Open here on ESPN 8. The Ocho.
Look, as long as you get SportsCenter, it's all good.
But SportsCenter SportsCenter is always on demand, because
30 for 30.
Because anytime between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., SportsCenter is on ESPN. It just repeats like 5 times in a row. So having ESPN doesn't add it to me at all.
I'm still holding out hopes that they're going to start really ramping up Hulu to be much more interesting.
I don't think Disney hasn't taken over the streaming content of it fully yet.
Right.
That doesn't take place until November. So
I'm holding out hope that they're going to do something really cool with it. And
in other Disney news, they just had their Q3 shareholders meeting, and Disney had a pretty good year, man. They had a revenue increase of 33%, and they brought brought in over $170 billion this year. However, they were still reporting a marked loss. You know, even though all of their movies had banner freaking years. You know, we're talking, Toy Story 4, and then we also have, obviously Avengers and Star Wars still coming. Like, they're having a huge year, but they're still reporting a loss, and they were very quick to point out what caused their loss. It's clear that they bought Fox to be their little whipping boy, because when the shareholders were like, yeah, so why are you still reporting a loss? And they're like, it's all Dark Phoenix's fault. We had to drop, $20 million into the reshoots for that shit, and then it didn't even make its money back.
Yeah.
And they were very quick to blame Dark Phoenix. I'm sure Dark Phoenix is somewhat the cause of that, but also Disney spends a lot of money. I imagine there are Disney wetworks. Like, I think Disney has its own military. Like, I'm pretty sure they have people bumped off at times. They have their own CIA. They have their own Homeland Security. They have their own everything.
They're the CEO of the Illuminati.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like, they're reporting losses. But then when I hear that news, I'm not like, oh, poor Disney. No one cares.
I know.
I don't have Disney share. No one I know has Disney share, because no one I know is rich enough. Only the people rich enough have Disney shares. And but they were very quick to say Dark Phoenix is to blame for this. So that might be, why everyone's like, where's New Mutants? And it's like, well, they have to wait until they have another good year so that they can bury that loss underneath all their success as well. So I don't know when that'll come out.
It's a business move.
I think that's a Hulu. I think that's 100% going to be one of those things they put on Hulu streaming, is going to be New Mutants. I think they're just going to bury it there, where it might gain them a couple new subscribers, but in the end, they don't have to worry about marketing it too heavily and pushing it out to the theaters and stuff like that, and doing a whole bunch of press and stuff like that for it, where they're like, all they got to do is say it's there, and that's where you can find it. You just do a press release for that, and people will go to it and see it. All right, Jay, that's going to do it for our news. Let's get into what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
I think he's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
Well, Jay, I'd ask you what you were watching this week, but I know the answer already. Nothing But the Americans.
Nothing but the same old, trying to get through. And just our featured Hobbs and Shaw review, and that's about it.
Just
that's
more of the Americans. You are the fucking most boring man alive anymore, I'll tell you. You know what'd be nice is if you...
To be honest, I'm really ready for it to be over too. I gotta start fucking...
What would be fucking nice, Jay, is that if you showed up to do a podcast about where you...
something to the table.
Where you discuss and review pop culture media, if you actually watched some current pop culture fucking media.
I know.
That'd be real nice, Carry the weight a little bit.
How about this? I promise you by the next time.
No, don't make any promises, because then you'll just fucking disappoint me.
You know me too well.
I do. You know what? I gave you the entire Alien saga.
That was in case I won Movie Cocktail.
No. That was so you could watch Alien 3, so you could have a little fucking skin in the game for our Movie Cocktail. Currently, the poll is up. We're going to find out which of our movies win between Jaws: The Revenge. I still can't say it with a straight face. Day of the Dead, George A. Romero's 1985 classic. Saw 4, which is just doing so well in the polls right now. Let me tell you, sitting cleanly at 4% of the votes. And then your Alien 3. Alien 3 is holding its own, Jay. Aren't you curious about why people want to see a Movie Cocktail for Alien 3?
No, I will watch it.
Someday. You'll have to.
I will soon.
You've had it for a month and a half. You've had that movie. You've had my Alien Blu-ray collection for a month and a half, and you've spent this entire time watching The Americans.
Look, priorities. I'm a loyal guy. I got to stick with my motherfucking American crew.
Yeah.
And then I'll move on.
Yeah.
To the alien world.
Well, I did get around to watching something this week. On Saturday, when I said I sat down, watched TV, and I didn't go anywhere. That's because me and Lauren were binge watching the new season of Orange Is the New Black, the final season, 7th season. And I gotta say,
I can't bring myself to get back into that.
I gotta say, dude, this was the most heartbreaking season by far. They introduced a bunch of new characters because they are getting into the other half of the detention center is now for detainees of illegal immigrants, and they're getting into
that's interesting.
Yeah, and extremely heartbreaking. You get a story about a woman who's taken from
Something
her kids.
that they do not put on the news cycle.
Oh my God. And like they're just getting locked up, and there is no habeas corpus. There is no, there is no, innocent until proven guilty or anything like that. You are just locked up. You are detained. And you await for your hearing. You get a hearing. You couldn't get a lawyer. You couldn't afford one. All right. And you're going to stand up there by yourself. Sorry, I don't see cause for you to seek asylum here in the United States. You're going back to Egypt or El Salvador, or you're going back to Colombia, or you're going back to, and one of our characters, I won't say which one because I don't want to spoil it, but one of the characters we've been following pretty much throughout the entire series, it turns out that she thought she was an American citizen. She tries to get her birth certificate, and her mother tells her, no, you weren't born in America. You were born in Colombia. You are illegal. And she doesn't speak Spanish, and she gets deported to Colombia.
Wow.
Yeah, it's dude, and I gotta tell you, like they do a great job of keeping the show fresh by adding this new element into it and giving us something new to latch onto. Because if, while still wrapping up their other stories, they are wrapping up the other stories, but I'm gonna be honest, those other stories I wasn't too interested in. I was somewhat interested in what Piper's doing and whether her and Alex are gonna stay together. They do a nice heartbreaking story with Nikki, as everyone around her is getting older and moving on and stuff, and she's kind of stuck there by herself. That's a nice story. She's a character I've always enjoyed, and I like them taking this aside with her and showing kind of like her maturing and stuff like that. That was great. But as far as like all the seasons go, it's nothing mind blowing. It didn't blow me away like the first, 1 or 2 seasons did. And I think the show's just kind of been skipping along on the pond, and it did itself justice by ending here and coming strong with its ending and everything. But if you haven't been with the show for a couple years, or you let it go, it's not enough to bring you back.
Does it end in a satisfying way, or at least maybe a fitting way
for
perhaps?
some characters?
Okay,
there's just too many characters to give you a nice, clean, wrap up with everybody.
No, I understand that, but as far as like the tone of the show itself. Like, does this seem fitting as far as like?
Yeah, because it's had the same tone.
It is what it is.
You haven't watched it, Jay. So how do you know? You haven't watched the entire series. You stopped watching it season 4. So
how many are there?
This is 7.
7.
I said that already. Yeah. This is the final season. This is the end. So I think it had a good run. But if I hadn't stuck with it throughout the entire time and watched it every year, if I was like you and I stopped watching it season 4, I wouldn't come back now just to watch the end. No, I wouldn't come back and watch seasons 5, 6, and 7 just to wrap it up. I don't think it's worth that. If you took the ride with it the whole time, then you may find satisfaction in this ending. But
there's a slight chance I will, but like it will not be anytime soon.
No, and it's not. You won't. Trust me, you won't. There'll be so many other things coming out in the fall that you're not going to get back to this, and that's okay. You're not missing anything. You're not missing any big important conversation.
I got it. Like I enjoyed it. Like I understand the context and like where you can go with the show, but like when I ended it started to get into a little bit too much of a far stretch.
It was a concept that went on, and it went long enough.
They bent the realms of reality far enough, and that's kind of when I got off.
They got themselves into a corner, and they had to just continue writing these outlandish. One of the things that like really got me was like in this season, they like Piper mentions that she just got out of jail where she had been for 18 months. And I was like, holy shit, the past 7 years have only taken place in 18 months. So in 18 months, she's been locked up, fought off a gang, became a white supremacist. Yeah. There was a riot. They got moved around to all these other prisons. They all came back together.
She hit the ground running.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, it's like in 18 months, what a whirlwind. Maybe that
Fight or flight.
Maybe that is, a normal prison experience. I've never been to prison. I don't know what a normal prison experience is. So that may be a normal prison experience. Don't know. Never been there. All I know is there's a lot of drugs going up people's butts. And you can make a mint in prison just for sneaking in cell phones and cell phone chargers.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't really have a score for it. It's just, is it worth your time? only if you've been sticking with Orange is the New Black the whole time. If you stepped away from it for any reason, whether it just didn't catch your fancy anymore, it's not worth it to go back.
Okay.
It's not. If
that's a fair enough assessment. Yep.
Stick with it. You'll enjoy the rest of the season. Other than that, Jay, I went to the theaters and I saw Hobbs and Shaw, which we will review at the end of the show. All right, Jay, let's head over and let's get into a very special trailer park.
Poetics, bring the drums in.
Cut the beat and let the music play. No trailer park, shout out to Dave and Jay. I don't serve, but it's a newer wave. We've been on since trust God save the right style. I don't wanna flow until I know that the bass drop.
Now, this is a trailer that dropped right around the Comic-Con hype, and it kind of got a little bit buried. It was on my radar. I did watch it then, but I also heard the director of this movie talking on our local radio station this morning, so it made me go back and check out the trailer, and it made me want to do a little bit of trailer park for it, because I do love this director. I do love his movie universe, and I kind of want to break down the trailer a little bit. So let's get into our trailer park for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Let's do it.
Identify yourselves, motherfuckers! I'm Jay, and this is my hetero life mate, Silent Bob.
Don't tell me you guys have no idea there's a new comic book movie being made of the old comic book movie you two are the basis for.
That old-ass star-studded piece of shit, that movie sucked balls.
Suck asshole, too.
Your Honor, I object.
I'll allow it. That movie did suck balls and asshole.
We got 3 days to get to Hollywood and stop this reboot from ever happening.
Boys, I had a baby. Jay, brace yourself. You're about to meet our love child, Millennium Falcon.
And on that note, we cue the music.
Yay! It's Jay and Silent Bob.
I just found out I have a kid, but I don't know how to be a father.
Anybody with cum can be a father, but only love can make you a dad.
How you gonna talk about love and you flinging cum all over the place? That shit's unseemly, bro.
What do you guys think about this reboot?
It sucks. There, I said it. And who's directing this shit anyway? Kevin fucking Smith?
All right, so Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. This got announced a couple months ago on Kevin Smith's, I think it was his Facebook, where he kind of mentioned that Mallrats 2 is canceled, Clerks 3 is canceled. Neither one of these is going to happen, but he did leave the door open for his View Askewniverse, where he said that Jay and Silent Bob will be returning in the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So flash forward now to August. It's been filmed. Actually, they started filming this movie 1 year to the day of his heart attack. The anniversary of his heart attack is when they started filming this movie. And I gotta say, man, you can definitely see he's a media personality, so you see him a lot if you watch his IMDb show, if you watch him on Hulu. I think he had a Hulu show as well. But he's had a transformation in his appearance. He really took it to heart, the fact that he had this heart attack, and he's had a life of clean living since then. And it shows, he looks gaunt at times, but I think, for him, he looks good.
That's just natural because of, it's a lot of loose skin now.
Absolutely.
He lost a lot of weight, which is good. He's supposed to be feeling a lot better. He's better than ever. And honestly, man, the trailer looks like a lot of fun. They really seem to have nailed the tone that they were trying to go for.
So the last Jay and Silent Bob movie came out in 2001, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And that had extremely mixed reviews. And I'm going to be honest, this trailer doesn't look too different than that. I was kind of hoping that not that he would take it seriously and kind of make like another like Chasing Amy, because I don't think you can do that with Jay and Silent Bob as your main characters, because they're the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They are the comic relief of all the films. So you're going to have an extremely comedy heavy movie. I just don't know if it's just watching this, if it stands out too different than what Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was. It kind of seems it's a lot like what Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was,
but with a baby,
but with a child, right? So it's going to poke fun at reboots, remakes, and sequels, which this is all of the above rolled into one.
And this movie. So it's like almost like breaking the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Kevin Smith rolled out, all the stops where he wanted to get
and all the stars.
I think he wanted like 23 cameos or something like that. He wound up getting like 46. There's you can see like
I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of surprises.
Right. In the trailer you see Craig Robinson as the judge. You can see Justin Long as
Chris Hemsworth.
Now Justin Long is in the IMDb as lawyer. That's all they say he is. But if you listen to his voice and you're a fan of Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which I am, I enjoy that movie quite a bit. He's talking exactly like his character in that, Brendan St. Randy, where he's the gay porn star in that. He starred in such films as
all sorts of movies with all male casts.
All male casts, like Glengarry Glen Ross, like that.
Like Glenn and Gary suck Ross's meaty cock and drop their hairy nuts in his eager mouth.
I loved his role in that. And it sounds like he's playing that same character. Joe Manganiello is playing the bailiff in that scene. Chris Hemsworth is in it. You got Rosario Dawson reprising her role from Clerks 2 in this. You have Matt Damon returning, not as like his minor role in Chasing Amy. He's back as the Angel of Death, Loki.
This from the guy who still owes me $10 over that bet about which was going to be the bigger movie, E.T. or Crush Groove.
Fuck you, man, because time's going to tell on that one.
That's who he's returned as in this movie. Exactly. So that's the level that you're dealing with in this. Jason Lee is back as Brody from Mallrats.
Hey, Jay! Brody, man! Noochies!
And Ben Affleck is back as Holden McNeil.
Look at these morose motherfuckers right here. Smells like somebody shit in their cereal. Bung!
There was a bit of this is what I listened to on the radio station today when Kevin Smith was on with Preston and Steve. He didn't even reach out to Ben Affleck. Like when he was making this movie, they filmed it mostly in New Orleans, I think he said, and they actually started filming sometime around Mardi Gras. So he said it was really easy to get celebrities to come to New Orleans during Mardi Gras. Like it wasn't hard at all. And during a press junket that Ben Affleck was doing for, what was that movie, Three Strikes, the Netflix movie that he's in?
Triple Frontier.
Three Strikes, Triple Frontier. It's all the same. It's got the number 3 in it. I got it. I got this. So he was doing press for that. And the person interviewing him said, are you involved with the Jay and Silent Bob reboot that Kevin Smith is doing? And he's like, no, I wasn't even asked. Like no one contacted me. And Kevin Smith apparently hasn't spoken to Ben Affleck in 9 years. Everyone keeps saying it's a falling out, but Kevin Smith kind of cleared it up on Preston and Steve. He's like, look, there was no inciting fight or anything. It's not like we had it out or anything like that. He's like, just grew apart and stop talking. It happens. Like that's what happens with friends. It's normal. He got busy. He had his own studio. He was directing movies,
especially in the Hollywood world.
Right.
Yeah.
He had a wife. He had kids. He had addictions. He had a lot of shit going on. So like him and Kevin Smith just, they just grew apart and stuff. But he did reach out to him, and Ben Affleck agreed to come back and be in the film. We see a lot in this, and it's a lot of it. It only makes sense if you're a View Askewniverse fan, right? If you're a Kevin Smith fan, then a lot of this stuff is ticking the right boxes for you. So it starts off with,
and not even just that, but also like cosplay, Comic-Con, like just being like very geeky, self-aware.
The world that Kevin Smith lives in now.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the average moviegoer is absolutely not going to like this movie, probably. So like it definitely has a very self-aware, fun sense of humor about it, which I found refreshing because it was just kind of nice to see. I know like Kevin Smith's backstory, and I know you have a big soft spot for him too. Like a lot of his movies hit or miss for me. This one seems to be hitting for me, at least as far as the trailer. I don't know why.
The humor for me seems a little bit too slapstick. It seems a little bit too juvenile. I
agree, but whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm going with it. I
wanted now. Don't get me wrong. I feel like he has some surprise hidden here somewhere.
Oh yeah.
In it.
Oh yeah.
Given his life changes and stuff like that, I feel like that's what got him inspired to make this movie. So I think it's going to have a lot of hidden heart that we're not expecting, that we're not seeing in this trailer. So we also it kind of starts off with Jay and Silent Bob getting the information from Brody at his comic book store that they're making a Jay and Silent Bob reboot. And just like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, they're going to stop this movie from being made. Somehow that leads them to Justice, who was Shannon Elizabeth in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And we find out that he had a love child. Jay had a love child with Shannon Elizabeth, and her name is Millennium Falcon. Millie for short, but she has a friend, and her friend is Soapy. Soapy is a deaf girl, and you see that now Millennium Falcon is played by Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin Smith's daughter, is playing Jay's daughter, and if you notice, since she has a deaf friend who hangs out with her, what does that make Soapy? Her Silent Bob. Right. So it's Jay's daughter, and Jay's daughter has
It's cute.
She has her own Silent Soapy. At least that's who IMDb lists her as. And they're going to take the adventure with them to Hollywood to stop the Jay and Silent Bob movie from being made. And
because it sucked balls and assholes.
But also, the reboot is going to be all women. It's an all-female casted reboot. So I don't know whether... I do feel like since this is the first Kevin Smith movie to not be produced by the Weinstein Company...
Yeah, post Me Too.
I think they're
going to be very self-aware
I think they're going to take a lot of shots at that. That's why the film is being remade with an all-female cast.
A lot with it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be taking shots at his former producers and bosses. You know, I think he's certainly going to have a little bit of fun at their expense for sure.
Yeah.
In the film. So the ending of the trailer I absolutely loved with Method Man and Red Man in the car where Jay is looking for advice on being a father, and when Red Man's like, yo man, any dude can be a father. All you need is cum and shit to be a father. It takes love to be a dad. How you gonna come up here talking about love with throwing your cum around and all that shit?
I love it. It's so good to see them again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love seeing their interaction here. So that's going to do it for our breakdown of Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I like seeing Kevin Smith back to making movies. However, I've seen his recent films, Jay. I've seen Yoga Hosers.
He stretched a little bit, I think, but it didn't work so much. Tusk, I can respect in some ways, even though I didn't like it. At least the last
I liked Red State, which came out prior to Tusk. Tusk, I was not crazy about. It's almost so outlandish that this is a hunt. Like in 10 years, people will still talk about Husk. Husk came out.
Tusk,
5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and we still talk about Tusk today. Many people, remember for how bad it is, but we still talk about it today. It is going to be, it's going
to be on Cult.
Yeah. It's going to be like, I think that movie came out in 2014. I want to say it's going to be like 2014's The Fly. It's something that we're going to talk about for years to come. So for good or bad, that movie is going to be a cult classic, whether you like it or not. I think it's going to be.
I 100% agree with that.
Yoga Hosers, however, not.
No.
And then he was supposed to create a third in that trilogy, which was going to be Moose Jaws.
Sure.
That wound up not getting made. And then
because there's absolutely nobody in the world would see that.
I secretly think Johnny Depp came off of his high, like whatever high he was on whatever drug, probably mescaline or peyote. He probably came down off of that and went, okay, man, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can be the sheriff in Moose Jaws. I don't think I can do it. And Kevin Smith's like, that's fair. That's fair. I'm writing Mallrats.
It's like, dude, I just wanted to work with my daughter for like a weekend, and like you got me signed up, and I'm doing all these weird Canadian accents. I got this fucking weird nose and the mole, and like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Kevin Smith's like, that's fair. I'm working on Mallrats 2, and it's like, no, Mallrats 2 is not going to be a movie. It's going to be a TV show. Never mind that project's canceled. I'm working on Clerks 3. What's going on with Clerks 3? Never mind that project's canceled. I can't figure out how to make that work.
I gotta get paid.
And it's like, and it's like, what are you working on? I'm working on Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and everyone's like, okay, not what I was expecting, but sure, okay. Not what I was. This is not the movie I expected from him. I expected Clerks 3 because Clerks, I feel like, is so heavily tied to Kevin Smith and who he is. Clerks 1 is being young and in your early 20s and stuff, kind of being aimless, not knowing what you want to do in your life. Clerks 2 is him is like this late 30s, early 40s, figuring yourself out and figuring out what you're good at,
wanting to make a change and get things going.
Exactly. And I think that's all stuff that resonates to Kevin Smith in his life at that time where he was, he was stuck in this midway during Clerks 2 where he was the guy that wrote movies with dick and fart jokes, but he's also this family man with deep, sensibilities and sentimentality about him and stuff like that. And it's a balance that he has to play within himself. And I think both those characters in Clerks 2 were representing both of those aspects of himself. And then in Clerks 3, it just kind of seemed like that's where you go with it. What do you do when you've reached success? What do you do when you reach the person?
I think he had a struggle writing it.
That's what I mean. Like,
it's hard to find the humor in it because you have to have the humor in it.
Right, but
it's hard to write humor when you're
the characters mature? Ended in a good place in Clerks 2. So to bring them back in Clerks 3, you have to then put them back into peril.
Yeah. Or you could have played it up like, oh, the daughter is going away to college, and then like having a moral conscience.
Well, there is no daughter in that. None of them. They just had a baby at the end of the second one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you can play with the time. Like, it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I'm just saying, whatever. But like, either way, I'm fine with it. I'm sure he spits out movies, dude. He's a shooter.
Once he gets his head set into something,
he writes and directs extremely quickly. So that's not so much an issue. It's not like he's like some kind of crazy like Scorsese guy that's going to be taking like 4 years to do a film. It's nothing like that. So he's going to be able to come together with another film, original film too.
When we did our Ask Me Anythings for our, I think it was our anniversary show and stuff.
Yeah.
People asked me who's the one person I would love to interview, because we don't do interviews on this show. I don't bring people on.
Right.
Not so fat Kev Smith is who I would want to interview. I would love to interview Kev Smith. I think he's just a wonderful person to listen to, and he's just such a genuinely nice guy. Just an absolutely genuine nice guy. Yeah. And the times I've met him, which are very brief,
we should have had him. Nice. We should have had him up in the studio.
We should have had him up. Just me and Kevin Smith sitting on the couch.
Yeah, I can see it right now.
Just sitting.
I'll be recording as you guys.
Our ball sweat would just be mixing together on the cushions of the couch.
Yeah, we'd be taking a dip in the pool before recording.
Like, Kev Smith, you want to go jump in my pool?
Yeah,
you want to go jump in my ghetto pool, man?
Trust me, you want to. So you're not sweating in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, Kev Smith, if you're listening, love to have you on the show. Reach out to us if you want to. You probably don't. I wouldn't reach out to us. Like, I would listen to this show and I'd be like, who wants to talk to these two knuckleheads?
But you want to talk to Dave, not me.
Yeah, I'm the eloquent one. You are just you are the good looks of the audio medium, sir. That's why you're here.
We gotta get on YouTube.
Dressing. You're here so when we actually post pictures of us to our Instagram, people are like, oh, that's what Super Movie Brother Jay looks like. It's like, oh man, maybe I will give these guys a listen.
Instead, I just keep putting pictures of beer.
Beer. Yeah, I looked at the Super Movie Bros beer review page.
Yeah.
It's just all beers.
I try to be very, very strict.
What a boring page.
Very specific. It's Super Movie Bros beer.
You should like sneak a nutsack in there somewhere. See if anyone notices. See if Instagram
high def close.
No, just like next to the can, but like in the background are your nuts, just hazy.
Yeah.
See if Instagram picks up on it and gets rid of it.
It's a pretty good idea.
Or you can do what's that old thing where you would make a circle with your fingers and hide them below your waist, and if anyone looked at it, you got to punch them.
Right.
Like that super fun game.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Start hiding little Easter eggs in all the beer review pictures.
You need to cut this out of our recording.
I'm going to leave it in there. All right, Jay. Speaking of beers, getting kind of thirsty here. Let's head over and let's get into our beer reviews. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got two beers that we're going to be reviewing for you, but before we do that, going to drop a line to our sponsors. First up is Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. 2 tabs that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water, drink it down, your hangover starts to feel better immediately. So if you're like me and you spent the entirety of a Saturday on the couch watching Orange is the New Black, drinking a ton of beers, and openly sobbing at the deplorable nature in which the country is treating its immigrants, and you happen to get a mean drunk on, which led to a whopping hangover by 6 p.m., then you're going to want to reach for some Blowfish. So make sure you head over to 4hangovers.com, use the promo code SMBFish, and get your 15% off of the Miracle Hangover Cure. Super Movie Bros is also brought to you by the Podcoin app. The Podcoin app is an app where you can listen to your favorite podcasts and earn a little bit extra for doing so. So you can download the Podcoin app on iOS or Android devices, and you can subscribe to all your favorite podcasts there. For every minute of podcast that you listen to, you will earn points. Those points can be converted into gift cards, or you can save them up and then donate them and to charity. Podcoin will take care of the donation to charity for you, and you can even choose the charity from their list of dozens of philanthropic enterprises. So download Podcoin on the iOS and Android app and start earning a little bit for your hardcore podcast listening. All right, Jay, we got 2 beers that we're going to be reviewing. I'm going to let you fire it off first. What are you drinking for everybody?
Sure. I am drinking a Lick Beer Project from Queens, New York. I'm pretty sure these guys are new because I've never heard of these guys before. And
Lick beer,
pretty snazzy can. It's pretty jazzed up. It's called Co-Ed Tiles American Pale Ale. It is 5% alcohol by volume. It is extremely light in color, very pretty looking light color, very foamy, and has a really soft melon aroma to it, which is really, really nice and pleasant.
Okay.
Very soft feel in the mouth and just goes down nice and easy.
Until you talk about the mouthfeels, it sounds like you're like describing like a skin lotion. Like it's very foamy, you know. It exfoliates.
It lathers beautifully.
It's got a wonderful cucumber melon scent.
Yes.
You know? And
that's kind of how this beer is.
And it just leaves my nether regions feeling clean.
And it leaves my mouth feeling very clean. And
do you ever get that feeling? You know, like you're unclean, Jay, you know, down there.
Well, it's not a good feeling.
No.
You do not go on a date that night.
No, we went for a run before we recorded, and we always got to jump in the pool.
Yes.
Just to
you got to sanitize with chlorine immediately afterwards.
That's right. Yeah, just to get the funk off the balls. Because us sitting in this hot studio, sweat. Oh my God, it'd be terrible.
That pool is worth anything.
So
me.
What is
highly recommend you guys, anybody who records podcasts out there in the summertime,
take a dip in the pool before you go
dip in the pool, man.
So what are you going to give your Lick beer?
I'm going to give this actually a 4.25 out of 5. Man. I think they crafted a really, really nice pale ale, American pale ale that is not too high in ABVs and goes down really nice. And I'm really impressed. So I'm looking forward to seeing and trying to drink some more beers from them.
So I am drinking a beer from a brewery that is extremely local, right down the street out of Croydon, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
This is the Neshaminy Creek Brewing Company. This is their Bucks County Ale Trail. Now, this actually isn't brewed by them solely. This is actually brewed by them and another extremely local brewery, Free Will. So it is a collaboration between the two. And what this is a wet hopped Kolsch style ale. So they like to say that it is adding nods to the traditions of a German beer mixed with a dash of American creativity. So it is wet hopped with Huel melon and mandarina, and it has ripe notes of melon and honeydew. I can taste the melon, but it kind of tastes like you're chewing on a watermelon rind. Like it's like it's got the melon notes, but it's very bitter. It's
very much in the back end.
Yeah,
I took a sip of it as well. It it packs a punch.
Yeah, it's very sweet up front. It has this very nice, like, you know, dark ale taste up front, and then it just smacks you with bitter on the back end. And that's, you know, that's the wet hop. Like that's, you know, you talk about dry hop. That's where they pour dry hops in at the end, and then let that sit. And that's what dry hops are.
I'm not very familiar. It's supposed to be like a Grolsch.
What's that? A Kolsch.
Kolsch beer. I'm not too familiar with Kolsch's. I don't know exactly how they usually taste.
I'll be honest, it's okay. It's like just okay.
I just feel like it's more like a fall beer. I'm surprised it's out. I guess that fall beers are now coming out in stores, so maybe that's why I picked it up already. But
no, I don't think this doesn't have a time of year. This is
okay.
It just misses on all marks. It's not enough of one thing. Like
it's disappointing because those are two big breweries in our area that we both.
It's trying to be a German beer and it's trying to add the American, but like it doesn't marry these flavors together well at all. It's getting a 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right.
So that's going to do it for me and Jay's beer segment tonight. Coming up next, me and Jay are going to be reviewing this week's top box office hit, Hobbs and Shaw. A brief warning for our Hobbs and Shaw review. Me and Jay try to remain as spoiler-free as possible, but unfortunately we fail in some places. So if you want to remain completely spoiler-free for Hobbs and Shaw, if you haven't seen it yet, then just skip this review and come back after you've seen it.
Let's do this.
Come on! Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hobbs.
I got him. No, I got him. I got him.
What's the problem, boys? Does it hurt?
Get your back, brother.
And I got yours.
H to the OP. Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Here comes a kryptonite.
All right, Jay. Synopsis for Hobbs and Shaw goes like this. Hobbs, big, tough, strong man, teams up with Shaw, smaller, but still tough fighting guy. Yeah. Team up to save Deckard Shaw's sister, who has infected herself with a virus, to protect the world against a cybernetically enhanced organization of super soldiers hell-bent on improving humanity by weeding out the weaker ones and cybernetically enhancing the strong ones. That's the movie. And if it sounds ridiculous, yeah, it 100%
It 100% is.
This movie
is definitely are all about it and completely stand behind it, and they just live it up.
So here's my big thing about the movie. Where all the rest of the Fast and Furious movies have done, like since 5, have done this great line of like walking this line between like fun, dumb action spectacle and somewhat believable storytelling, right? Like in there, it's walking a very fine line, and it flirts with the line a lot. But I feel like towards the end, it always writes itself back into something that's almost believable. Like nothing in the Fast and Furious movies. There's plenty of stuff that makes you go like, oh, that's fucking impossible. But
a lot of it is just the action stuff.
But for some reason, it feels believable there. In this, it goes way too far. I feel like it just erased the line and
but let me
just
ask
kind
you
of made up
this,
its own
the
rules.
concept of it, do you think the technology would be there in 50 years?
No. There's a scene where where we saw it in the trailer too, but where Brixton's back is completely opened up, and we see like this cybernetic spine, and then it just staples him back together, and then he goes and fights. He goes and fights Hobbs and Shaw as if like his spine isn't fused together by fucking staples from a robot. Like, so there's...
Yeah, that scene was not good.
The believability of this, like I said, Hobbs and Shaw, where the rest of the Fast and Furious universe flirts with the line, Hobbs and Shaw erased the line and just did whatever the fuck they wanted with physics. They didn't, like, physics meant nothing. Human limitations meant nothing.
Yeah. The planet limitations, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that, like, really bothered me in the film, Brixton is this super strong, super durable, superhuman, pretty much. He is a cybernetically enhanced human being. He's Iron Man if Iron Man wore his suit on the inside.
He's Black Superman.
Yeah, Black Superman is what they call him in the film. Hobbs and Shaw are exceptional human beings, but still normal human beings. However, they seem more superpowered than Brixton himself is.
And especially towards the very end of the
Idris
movie.
Elba's Brixton has, he's super strong, super fast, super reflexes, and he has like near perfect aim, unless, Jay, he's aiming at our main characters. In which case, the cybernetics are going to have a very serendipitous glitch. And that's like some of the stuff that I was picking up on in this. While I'm watching it, there's plenty of things that make me go,
Erroneous!
You're not serious. Like, The Rock leaping off of a building and rappelling down the building, jumping on guys and throwing them off, which we saw in the trailer. That was fine. That was fun. I get that. I go with that. But then there's a moment where The Rock is in a car. The car's driving 120 miles an hour. There's a guy on a motorcycle driving 80 miles an hour towards The Rock. The Rock puts his arm out the window and grabs the guy off the bike and then slams him into a brick wall and then just pulls his arm inside as if nothing...
Without any kind of reflex.
As if there was nothing wrong with his arm. His arm would have been butter. But of course, this is the guy that in, I believe it was Fast and Furious 7, was hospitalized by Deckard Shaw, and he had a broken arm. And then, of course, towards the end of the movie, even though his arm was broken, he just flexed his arm and broke his cast, and it was magically no longer broken, and it was healed. And he went out to the streets of LA. So,
as you guys know, I obviously struggle with these kind of films, and however, I was elated to see. I liked the first trailer. All the other trailers I didn't like because it gave away way too much of the absurdity that was going to be.
But the first trailer was 4 minutes long and gave away everything.
Yeah, but I like these guys. I like Statham. I like The Rock, and I definitely like Vanessa Kirby, and of course Idris Elba. But like, Vanessa Kirby is great in this movie. She's probably my favorite part of it.
I was like, don't want to bury the lead a little bit, but Vanessa Kirby's Hattie was my favorite part of the film.
Yeah.
Even though her character's existence is quite unbelievable, because Jason Statham, who was born in 1967, Jay, that makes him somewhere around 52 years old, is supposed to be in similar age to his sister.
Definitely within 5 years.
Who was born in 1988.
Right. Nice little 20-year bump.
There's a 21-year difference between the two.
Yeah, look.
And they're playing his brother and sister who were supposed to be like a couple years apart.
I definitely let it go in the movie, like while watching it. Now, obviously, it made some headlines after the fact.
Yeah.
And whatever. I mean, like, there's been worse things in Hollywood. Like, big deal. But, there are other things in this movie that are just really atrociously jarring. That was like mid-scene, like, things are happening. It's like, this should not be happening. This is impossible.
What is going on here? Fight scene towards the end of the movie where it's supposed to be early morning.
Atrocious.
Where it's still pitch black out. And then I think a jump cut happens. Someone throws a punch and there's a cut. And then when that person gets up, it's daylight.
Dayman, fighter of the night man, champion of the sun.
Yeah. Like, not even like sunrise type daylight, but like it's noticeably
daylight.
Bright.
It's daylight.
And then literally a few more swings later, it's
It's mid-afternoon.
Mid-afternoon.
It's time for a siesta.
Weird. Really weird.
There is a lot of continuity of time in this movie that really bothers me. Especially because they add literally a ticking clock in the third act. There is like literally a ticking clock.
Oh, and then don't forget, when you drive over a cliff, everybody, there is going to be a crazy rainstorm that's going to immediately happen.
And then immediately stop.
Oh God!
Well, that is in the South Pacific, so that's kind of tropical weather, much like Florida. You could get flash storms like that. It just happens to happen just when you need it for a dramatic effect in this movie. But not only like this night and day, switch that goes on mid fight. Like, that is something that happens in mid fight. It goes from night to day. It's crazy.
Very noticeable.
They add this ticking clock from the minute that we meet Hattie's character. We know that they have 72 hours to get her somewhere, to get to this heist and get this thing that's going to save her and save the world. And it's okay, but they go from London to Moscow, from Moscow to Samoa, and it's like, that's like a 17-hour flight from Moscow to Samoa. It's not an easy flight. That's 17 hours. They just wasted right there.
Big time.
Yeah. And I want to know, Jay, what did you think of the cameos in this movie? Now, they've been on IMDb for a while. A lot of people knew going into this. Me and you weren't so excited, so we didn't do a lot of pre-research going into the film.
I was completely surprised by them.
Yeah.
Should we say the names?
Nah, we'll say them. We'll say them towards the end.
Okay,
well, no, you can see them on IMDb now. I don't know if it's a spoiler.
We'll save it. I think
two funny guys show up.
Very A-list funny guys right now in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So made a very surprising small cameo roles into the film.
Was it jarring, when
it was jarring for me.
When Locke sits down with Hobbs in the first act and kind of sets him on the mission and stuff like that? That was jarring to you?
It was unexpected.
Jarring
was the later cameo on the airplane.
Yeah.
That was like, what?
So
like,
I liked,
what the hell happened here? What's going on here?
I liked Locke. Like, I thought it worked because it seemed like
it worked. I think his humor didn't work. You're right. I mean, I was just not expecting to see this actor kind of play himself again. You know, I wanted to see something a little bit different, but it's really him playing a very similar role that he's played before.
I'm sorry. I don't think this is spoilers. I'm just going to say it.
All right.
I'm just going to say it.
Just say it.
Brief spoiler warning. Skip ahead 30 seconds. Locke is Ryan Reynolds, and the other person they meet is Dinkley, who is Kevin Hart. They meet him on the plane. He's the U.S. Marshal. And
U.S. Marshal on
Ryan Reynolds is playing Ryan Reynolds. He's literally doing the Ryan Reynolds shtick.
And Kevin Hart's playing Kevin Hart.
But it'd be great because I honestly don't think that, you know, I know you're saying you're seeing Ryan Reynolds be Ryan Reynolds again. For me, watching that, I'm almost positive what they did was, Ryan, here's your talking points. Just ad-lib as much as you want. That's The Rock.
Yeah, and it didn't work for me.
He used to be one of the guys with the greatest mic skills in the WWE, so he can ad-lib right along with you. He'll be fine.
Serviceable.
Yeah.
But didn't do anything for me.
I liked it. I also have a theory that we'll get into in spoilers about the future of character of Locke in this series. And then, yes, the other one was Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was doing his little man thing. I'm the little man, but I want to help, right? You know, this is me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be your third guy. What are you doing with your voice? This is my voice. It's a little funny, but at the same time, it is pretty jarring in the movie. But I still enjoyed it there because I really thought that this movie needed those two characters to be there for a little bit of kick up in the humor, because Hobbs and Shaw's
it kicked it up.
Yeah, but Hobbs and Shaw's like very extremely juvenile,
dry and
banter back and forth got old 20 minutes into them being with each other.
Yeah.
It got old. Like, these are two guys that
they go heavy into it. The first scene that they're in together, it's big. They go like no fucking pulled punches at all. It's face to face. The camera's shot is like close up on The Rock, close up on Statham, and they are literally just shit talking on each other, just putting each other down.
Most of their lines didn't work for me.
It was not the best.
Yeah, most of it's
very forced.
It smacked of a lot of PG-13
kind of zingers, like bully zingers kind of thing. You know, it's like
none of it like really hit home for me. And you know, the action, while a lot of the vehicle action, a lot of the big action set pieces worked for me, the smaller, you know, the fights didn't work for me. I
agree.
They were not edited in a way where it seemed dynamic and stuff. There's a lot of cuts in there, you know, especially in a world that's like post John Wick, where we're seeing a lot of slick action movies come out with some real great fight choreography.
And it's disappointing because this is the director from Atomic Blonde,
right?
Who had a lot of really good, authentic,
David Leitch.
Yes.
But what I took away from that is let's be real here. Where, you know, Jason Statham can't be the transporter anymore. He's 52 years old, and
I've forgotten.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I'm not saying he's not fit. It's just a lot to put him through.
It does show, at least for me in this movie, because it has been a little bit.
And The Rock is roughly the same age. You got to remember.
Yeah.
So while these two guys are in pretty peak physical condition, them joints just ain't what they used to be.
Too old for this shit.
There's be a lot of popping
for for a 5-month shoot.
The sound editor would have to take out all their bone creakings, like if they didn't do all these cuts and stuff. So there's a lot of cuts, and I'm sure that the stunt doubles had to come in quite a bit for these two. The final fight I was not even that crazy about, though. You know, it is extremely Deus Ex Machina that like cybernetic guys are coming. Oh, guess what? They have hackable guns. Take care of that problem real quick. Now everything's going to be fisticuffs for 7 minutes. It's like, you're like, yes. Like, you're thinking what fun that's going to be. And then, right. It's overly backlit. You can barely see what's going on in a lot of the scenes. And it's just,
that was their time to shine.
It was just chaos being filmed.
It was so underwhelming for me because they hyped up this big final showdown big time. And it was just like in any other type of fight setup sequence. And it was that was the biggest struggle with me, was like a lot of these scenes and the fights were just very run-of-the-mill.
A lot of it, yeah. A lot of this movie was. And it makes me wonder why they wanted to rush this out before getting Fast and Furious 9 out, causing the whole big issue with Tyrese Gibson. Famously,
The Rock is a bigger star than anybody else.
That's what it comes down to, I think. I think
he can do whatever he wants.
Historically, Vin Diesel and The Rock have not gotten along. They knew that they were going to be doing this Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. I think they wanted to get this out before Fast and Furious 9 because The Rock's not going to be in Fast and Furious 9. And let's face it, Fast and Furious has been on its high with the box office, since Fast 5 came out, which The Rock was in. And he's been in every subsequent one since then. Now he's not going to be in it. And I think Universal is kind of like the one with The Rock in it, Hobbs and Shaw, is the sure thing. Put that one out before Fast 9 because that's the sure thing. That's the one that's going to make the money.
And then next year...
And Fast and Furious 9 will be what it will be.
It's a brand. Right. It's been enough time away from the other film. It'll still do very well.
But watching this movie, I realized that, while this is action set piece after action set piece and the story only advances enough to move you to the next action set piece, that's what the entire franchise is. And that's okay because it does it better than Transformers does, for sure. And that's okay. But I can't remember all the details of any of the stories because none of the stories stand out to me. I just remember the cool shit that happened in each of the movies. And there was some cool shit that happened in this movie. There was some things that were fun. I think the whole, storming the base in the Ukraine, I thought that was pretty well. I kind of liked that.
It was all right. That was a decent time.
That was the one I had a whole lot of fun with.
I really wanted the Hawaii set piece to be a lot better, though.
Yeah.
It should have been. They hyped it up.
It wasn't Hawaii. It was Samoa because that's where The Rock is.
Samoa.
Yeah, he's not from from Samoa, but he is Samoan in real life. He's half Samoan, so that's why they went to Samoa in this. Anyway, because he's a producer and he gets to make that call. As far as these two characters go, I also thought it was a pretty big departure, not from The Rock's Luke Hobbs. I thought that was pretty consistent with who he's been throughout the entire series. But from Deckard Shaw, they definitely watered him down a little bit, made him a little less rough around the edges and stuff. And it's caused a lot of people who are fans of the series to come up with the hashtag justice for Han. Where's the justice for this? Is the man that killed Han, a beloved character in the series, and it's not addressed in this film. And even Michelle Rodriguez from the main series of films has called out the writing staff on this and been like, how can you completely ignore it? And both the writing staff on this movie for Hobbs and Shaw, the producers, and Jason Statham himself have done interviews where they say, we only saw a small snippet of what happened between Deckard Shaw and Han, so you may not know the whole story. But really, what that is all right, hold on, everyone's upset, give us a chance to do a sequel and we'll correct it then. That's what they're saying.
Hold on. Let's give us a second. We have a good press release that we're going to get out very shortly.
Right. So
that will make sense.
So now this way, when they, when in 2 more weeks, when this movie's made enough money, Universal can say, okay, Hobbs and Shaw 2 is slated for 2021 and we're going to address the Deckard Shaw Han thing. And then people will go, oh, yay, now I want to see it. And they start building their hype all over again.
I hate it.
Hollywood machine at its finest, Jay.
It's fucking terrible. And you watch just as terrible? Watching The Rock try and kiss a girl.
That was awkward, right? When he goes.
Yeah. So there is a kissing scene in this movie, just so you know, guys. And this obviously does not happen very often with The Rock.
Right.
And so it's warranted because it looks awkward.
The Rock is what, 6'5"?
Awkward.
You'd say probably about 6'5", 300 pounds of solid muscle, and he's kissing all of 5'5", maybe Vanessa Kirby, who's probably 110 pounds.
Yeah,
soaking wet. And it made me realize why they didn't rekindle the romance between Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner as Smart Hulk in Endgame, because it would have been awkward.
I put the brains and the brawn together, And now look at me.
Like the Rock is the
just
real,
doesn't look right.
He's the real world allegory for what Smart Hulk is. Like he looks like Smart Hulk, but he's a human being.
It's probably what people see when I'm actually like dating a short girl.
No.
And kissing.
No, Jake, because you are still a pretty thin framed man. This dude has shoulders that are like the wingspan,
bigger than her head.
Yeah, they, like his shoulders are the wingspan of a California fucking condor. For Christ's sakes,
yeah.
The dude is massive, and we see him, shirtless, doing the haka dance and stuff. He's still got it. I'm still afraid. Believe me, I am. And to see him kiss this tiny girl, I'm just like, oh. Like his lips enveloped her entire face, and he's like, "You care to seal that secret again?" And I was like, "Good God, please don't! You are a scary man. Even when you're being tender, are you a scary man?" So this movie misses on so much, But I think the thing that it misses the most on is Idris Elba's Brixton. He was this weak villain who just kind of like shows up and spouts these extremely mundane like villain lines where at one point they're like that's called genocide, and his response to someone calling what he wants to do genocide, he says genocide schmenocide. Like he's your fucking 10th grade history teacher. He uses schmenocide. I was like, what a fucking terrible line. And, when he shows up in the very beginning of the film, as Maddie is going after our MacGuffin in the film, she's like, who are you? And he's like, bad guy. And that's in the trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
And it works in a trailer, but it doesn't work here in the movie. And at no point in the movie am I buying into him at all.
You can only intake so much self-aware,
but I can't fear him as a villain if the two men that are supposedly having trouble fighting him are having zero trouble fighting him whatsoever. Their interaction is minimal until the end fight scene with them. And even then, he is landing blows on them. He is supposed to be this super strong guy, and he's doing nothing to them when he hits them. And they're hitting him, and he's getting a bloody face, and, he's wearing down. And I was like, but they're just like, I saw this motherfucker catch a car. I saw this dude survive an explosion.
Yeah.
Shit has fallen on top of him, and he's gotten up and dusted himself off and kept moving. But now, because he's in the third act fight with Shaw and Hobbs, he's taking damage, and it doesn't make any sense. And at the end of the movie, when everything's all said and done, they throw a hook in you when they're like, Hobbs and Shaw did it, they saved the day. But did they? No, because there's a secret villain that's behind all this. See y'all for the sequel. Mic drop. And I was just like, you gotta fucking kidding me, dude. As much as we are shitting on this movie, I had a ton of fun.
I kind of did too. I did not have a good time. It's one of those. It's one of those movies, man. Honestly,
I wasn't having a roller coaster amount of fun, but I was at the playground and I was on the swing for a little bit, and I was,
I wasn't complaining.
Yeah, I
had my good time.
I got a little ball,
and then I got off. That was it.
When you're on a roller coaster and you get you go over to a big drop and you get that tickle in your balls. You know what I'm saying? Well, you get the same little feeling when you're on a swing. That's what I got. I got that little tickle in my balls while watching it, but I didn't get a full raging hard on for it. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I call it out for its stupidity while also gleefully smiling at this film's stupidity and going, yeah, it knows what it is, and I know what it is. We all signed into this agreement together.
Exactly. And even though you're yearning for more,
right?
What do you expect?
You made this movie.
What do you expect?
Knowing full well what it was going to be. I came to see this movie knowing full well what it was going to be. You delivered what I knew you were going to deliver, and I delivered the experience that I expected to get from it, and nothing surprised me. Nothing was great about it.
No room for complaints.
Right. I
really, when you think about it,
I ate the entire bag of potato chips, all the empty calories, and
for me, this is Doritos.
I've digested it, and
Give it to me, man. What's your grade, dude?
It's left me nothing. C+.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
C+. C+ is for me.
I kind of want to give it like a B-, but
I couldn't do it. I can't do it.
I'll be honest.
I just can't.
When it comes to like this, it's not as memorable as any of the rest of the Fast and Furious franchise.
No, and in a lot of ways, because you would prefer the other films because it has much more of a base. You know, there's a story base there behind it. You've seen them since fucking Fast and Furious 1. So there's something there more deep rooted inside you that you want to see these characters.
And even then, we've been following those characters for going on 20 years now.
Yeah.
And you know, we feel a connection to them. We've grown with them and we've seen their story. For Hobbs and Shaw, we're just getting snippets of their story for the most part.
I'd rather see Vanessa Kirby have her own spinoff.
I would too.
Give her own movie somewhere, whatever the hell it might be.
She saves the movie for me.
She's great in Mission Impossible. She was great in that.
She's great in
I jizzed all over that cameo role.
She's great in Netflix The Crown. Like, she's absolutely fantastic in that. She's a good actress, dude. And she carries this movie on her shoulders, man. She picks The Rock and Jason Statham.
Her brother.
And
Jason
carries
Statham
them on her fucking shoulders. At least as far as, like, acting ability and want to believe the story. Like, there's times where I believe this story because I'm believing her as a character.
She did her job.
Yeah, she did her job better than anyone else did. Her fight scenes, you know, I'm gonna blame the choreography on all of that, but I thought she did pretty good. I thought her fight with The Rock was pretty good. You know, I thought the moments where she's taking on guards, she has this,
and they even say that she was pulling punches.
Yeah.
So, you know, she was not trying to kill him.
I gotta
say, you knew that.
So without her, this would have easily been a C- for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree.
All right, Jay. Let's go into like just tiny little brief spoilers before we get out of here.
Yeah, we went pretty long in the non-spoiler segment, so let's get into it.
Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
All right, Jay. Spoilers. We mentioned that the bad guy that Brixton's been dealing with, Eton, I think is what it's called. They have this kind of like, I refer to him as the Claw. Like, did you ever watch Inspector Gadget? Next time, Gadget. Next time. This this unseen villainous voice that just exists in the ether, and like there's no physical body to him whatsoever.
It's classic.
So Brixton's talking to him. It's got this voice modulator, and
it's the magic private room.
At one point at the end of the movie,
it's the Illuminati talking to him.
When Brixton is talking to this nameless voice that has a modulator on, the modulator drops for a couple syllables and you hear the actor's voice, and the actor's voice sounded an awful lot like Ryan Reynolds' Locke. And I'm thinking that he is going to be the main bad guy.
I would hate that
one. And even then, the mid-credit scenes and the end-credit scenes kind of lead credence to that.
It does, but I hate that. Because it just doesn't make any sense with the character.
Because the first mid-credit
we've seen in this whole movie.
Sure it does.
Not really.
You play the bumbling idiot so that you can really be the super secret spy behind it all.
All right, I give you that. He better pull out the fucking acting chops and really sell it for me.
Dude, I'd love to see him as a bad guy.
I would too, but he's got to fucking sell it. Don't go fucking cheesy and keep going with this.
No, you got to do cheesy. You got to go cheesy. Dude, this thing.
If he plays the same thing he did in this movie, I'm going to hate it.
This thing was double whiz wit. That's how cheesy it is. You only get that if you're from Philly.
Yeah. I don't want to spit my beer out there. That was good.
This is double. This movie is all cheese. This whole franchise is cheese.
All right.
So yeah, just double down on the cheese, man. Come on.
No, I'd rather him turn Idris Elba style on him.
No, I thought Idris Elba was just wasn't working for me. All right, let's get the end credit scenes. First is the mid credit scene.
Yes.
The first one we see is Locke in some sort of facility where he's taken down a bunch of the cybernetic guys. He calls up
Justice for Han. Boom.
Justice. He calls up Hobbs and he's telling him there's a new virus that's been released. The other virus in the movie liquefies everybody's insides and turns into soup. The new one liquefies everybody's outsides. And he needs Hobbs' help. And it turns out he's not actually talking to Hobbs. He's talking to Hobbs' daughter, who Hobbs warned him several times not to tell her the darkest parts of his job. And he's dumping all this information on a 9-year-old little girl. The second mid-credit scene was Hobbs calling in the he basically swatted Shaw, who was at a London pub while he's working out. He calls in buddies to basically break into the pub and detain Shaw because that's the fun that's the fun they have with each other. They just call in SWAT raids on each other, because Shaw got him captured in the airport and got a finger up his bum. Now Hobbs is going to have the MI6 or whatever Secret Service was grabbing Shaw, catch him, tell them that he's had something up his ass, and then
because everybody knows every time you get detained,
they're raping each other from 5,000 miles away.
That's exactly what they're doing. That's essentially what they're trying to do.
They're raping each other from 5,000 miles away. They're just going to keep going.
No, we're not gay. We're just having other people do it.
We're having other people do it, and then tell me all about it. And then send me a picture of it. And it's such a weird thing, especially because like swatting is like, it's actually a problem, especially if you watch like a lot of people on Twitch and stuff like that. People call in SWATs on people who were like streaming themselves on Twitch and stuff like that. And a SWAT team comes in and like it completely disrupts your life. Like they bust your doors down, throw in flashbangs, take you out and stuff, only to find out that it was all a prank. But like it was actually a problem for a while. But so when you have a movie like this, just going, haha, isn't that funny? Huh? Then you got a bunch of 12-year-old kids watching this movie going, that is funny. Yeah, I am going to do that.
Right.
It's fucking dumb. Don't do that. We need our SWAT. We got people shooting up Walmarts all over the fucking place, man. We need our SWAT to be on their top game. We can't have them fucking taking down people.
That really kind of fucked me up because I was just there, not too long ago, and
let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. We're talking about Hobbs and Shaw.
Just saying.
What was the end credit scene? I didn't stay for it.
I just read that. I was looking it up.
I didn't stay for it. I didn't care.
I didn't either because it was. I've read. I could be wrong, but I thought I read it was another Ryan Reynolds scene.
It was another Ryan Reynolds scene,
and I just didn't give a shit. I was like, I don't want to see Ryan Reynolds anymore. I had enough of him. I really didn't care for him in this movie that much. I really didn't.
The final scene that we didn't stick around for was how Hobbs and Shaw spoiled the ending for Game of Thrones for people who didn't see Game of Thrones. Locke calls Hobbs just to talk about the ending of Game of Thrones, and that's what it is. He also mentions in his first mid-credit scene that it turns out it is very easy to stab somebody in the chest with a brick. Because he mentions that Maddie did it to somebody, and it's not easy to do. Because there's no sharp spot.
Yeah.
But then he does it and says, you know what? Turns out it's easy to do. Now, that's where the secret gets dropped that he may be the bad guy, because it wasn't Maddie who stabbed somebody with a brick. It was Brixton who stabbed somebody with a brick in the chest. Meaning that if it is that easy, Locke's Ryan Reynolds may be cybernetically enhanced as well, and thus the leader of that clandestine organization who wants to eradicate human weakness. So that's it. That's all. That's all the spoilers. Look, Hobbs and Shaw. Do you want to see it in a movie? No, it's coming to HBO in 3 months. Watch it then.
we dived into this pretty hard, but it's going to make a shitload of money. It already has.
It's going to make a fuck ton of money.
And, people are going to eat it up. So it's going to be around for a while. There's going to be sequels. Just own it.
I mean, there's really nothing coming until it, right? Like, we're kind of like in the slump until it right now.
Yeah, I feel like there might be a movie or two coming out, but like I'm not exactly sure. But
I mean, coming next week is Good Boys, that movie we did a trailer park for.
Yes.
So if we get a chance, we'll both see that, and we will be doing a review for that.
The Kitchen, a Jay's Indie Corner film called The Peanut Butter Falcon, is supposed to be very, very good.
And a film that's coming out next week that I really want to see, Blinded by the Light, which is from the director of Bend It Like Beckham, and it's about a young man who I believe he's Hindi, and he falls in love with Bruce Springsteen music and feels that the boss is speaking directly to him, as everybody who listens to Bruce Springsteen in your teenage years would feel like.
Of course.
So if we get to see any of those movies, we will be sure to bring those reviews to you. But really, it's going to be kind of a dry spell until it comes out. So we're gonna have to.
It's gonna be a bunch of Jay's movies.
We're gonna have to dust off our top 5 lists for the coming up episodes. Plus, we got our movie Cocktail coming up. Hopefully next week. If not then the following week.
Can't wait.
Also, I hope everybody can find it in your hearts to get out there, leave us a 5-star review. Even if you don't listen to us on iTunes, if you have an iTunes account, head over to iTunes, just search Super Movie Bros and leave us a 5-star review. It's how it helps us grow. It's what helps us get seen. You can also get additional content over on our Patreon, patreon.com/Super Movie Bros podcast. Going up this month, we are going to have a patron exclusive movie cocktail just for patrons. So we're going to start doing some patron exclusive movie cocktails. Movie cocktails are my favorite thing to do on the show. So I figured, why not share more of my favorite thing to do with the people who pay a little bit extra to get a little bit extra of Jay and Dave. So we're going to be doing that. We're also part of a network, part of the Podfix network. You can check us out over at podfixnetwork.com. You can also check out some of our movie cocktail recipes up there. Hit the drop down menu, go to movie cocktails. You can see all of our recipes from season 1 over there. Our trailer park music was brought to you by Thomas Iannucci. I can't thank him enough for letting him use that clip from his fantastic song. You can check out all of his music over there on Spotify. Just search Thomas Iannucci. And then, of course, you can check out Jay over, he runs our Facebook. It's Super Movie Bros Podcast on there. He also posts all of our beer reviews on Instagram, which is Super Movie Bros Beer. And then I run the Twitter. You can check us out at Super Movie Pod. If you actually want to go onto your laptop and send us an actual email, you can email us over at supermoviebrospodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.